Well, we may not have the real estate regulator, but the government has brought in housing and real estate under the purview of Lok Adalat. Now, will it really help the home buyers, and how will it be different from the current consumer forums that also promise to help the customer? We've got Balbir Singh joining us. Of course, he's the expert on this matter. Mr. Singh, first thing which we wanted to understand is what kind of issues can the buyer take to the Lok Adalat?
Manisha, I think first of all, I personally see that it's an overhyped solution which has been projected over a period of time, because practically the amendment which has been made is the act called Legal Services Authorities Act. This act basically is to provide cheaper or free legal services to the weaker section of the society. That's the basic premise where the amendment has been made. When you look closely, I think the amendment has been made in the definition of public utility, where the educational institution and housing has been brought into the definition of public utility. And the disputes relating to public utilities can go to the Lok Adalat. That's where I think you are coming in. Lok Adalat has got a very limited role. They more play like the arbitration or conciliatory authority, rather than typically playing a court where they can force their order. That's number one. So therefore, you can't replace this with the courts or the Competition Commission or the Consumer Forum, for that matter, wherever there is a dispute arising, serious dispute arising between the parties in any transaction related to housing. The second restraint I see is that the Lok Adalat under this law has got a very limited effect, in a sense that where the property value is less than 10 lakh, that only dispute can go to the Lok Adalat, and any property which has got value more than 10 lakh, the courts and the other courts are the alternate remedies which will prevail and which will remain as the basic forum for sorting out the dispute between the parties, which is the flat buyers and the builder. Government, although has power under this law that this 10 lakh value can be enhanced to whatever the government think right, but this is no alternate to courts or any other forum, including consumer, for resolving the disputes involving flat buyers and the builders. So my take on this is, I think this is not really any kind of a solution for home buyers in alternate to what remedy is otherwise available to them.
All right, so if the value is only under 10 lakhs, it pretty much, takes away almost all urban housing. Where are the houses which are under 10 lakh? I would like to go and see a few of them.
That's right.
And there are no punitive actions that can be taken. Seems like Lok Adalat can only do a referee job between the builder and the buyer. So Mr. Singh, I think an important question, and now the number of delayed projects is mounting across National Capital Region. Tell me, I've always wondered, and this is something that people have been asking me, should I fight my case alone, or should I fight it with a group of buyers? And where should I start? Always at the consumer court level, or should I actually go straight to a sessions or a high court? So two questions. One, should I fight it as an individual buyer, or does it help to actually fight a case against a developer in delayed project as a group?
See, I think if you see in the recent times the kind of developments which have taken place on the judicial forums, and the courts have been very proactive, where even the promoters of large building companies have been hauled up because of the delay in supply of the promised apartment or the property. So looking at the outlook which the judiciary has got over this particular area, which is unregulated, I certainly suggest that one must take fights to the appropriate forum. Now, which is going to be the appropriate forum? I think it depends on the place where the project is located, where the buyer is located. If you look at the courts in place like Delhi, which are very efficient, even the consumer forums are very efficient. So I think that a call is to be taken that which court you should go into. But at the same time, I think the one advice I certainly can say is that when the builder-buyer agreements are signed, one must look into the dispute resolution clause in the very beginning. There, the jurisdiction should be given to the courts rather than giving to any arbitrator, which is to be appointed by the builder, because that's take away a very significant judicial interference which a buyer may get before the court, because once you have arbitration clause, it's going to be difficult to take you to the courts. I think that's the advice number one. Second is, given the environment and looking at the ordinary buyers who invest 30, 40, 50 lakh rupees, I think the consumer forum is the right forum to my mind, where you can go straight away and you can plead your remedy which is available. Because the general trend before these consumer forums as on today is that they are certainly seeing that at least the consumer, if not getting the flats because of delays, are somehow compensated of the promised delay of interest which is there in their builder-buyer agreement.
Okay.
So the answer one is yes, you should fight, and two is, I think, depending on the place, but advisable before the consumer forums, you must go.
Okay, as an individual versus going as a group, very quick, we've run out of time completely actually.
I certainly suggest that you go as a group. Is certainly you have a more force and weight before any judicial forum. But if the consumer is unable to form a group, otherwise, I think there's no harm in still fighting a battle before consumer forum.
All right, Balbir Singh, thank you very much for making the time to give us that legal advice. Important one, and I think the one which you just pointed out, saying that when you're signing the buyer-seller agreement, it's important to see that in case of a dispute, the developer does not actually turn around and say that the matter can be first referred to an arbitrator which is set up by the developer. You should have legal recourse, so you have to be extremely careful about what are you signing with the builder.